Hello again, Musto006 back to take on another Robot Master from Mega Man 5. And congratulations if you got the DuckTales reference from the back end of my last video. I was of course referring to Gyro Gear Loose, so his namesake is who I'm going after next. And the stage starts out with an elevator ride further up into the sky, for as far as I can see, no real reason whatsoever. Seriously, why is this even a part of the stage? There are no enemies around and it's just a complete waste of time. When the stage gets going for real, we're greeted with a raft of shield shooter enemies and Pukapullies, which I hate. We saw them before in Gravity Stage and they can be even more annoying to deal with this time around. Their hitboxes are still small, when they move towards you they do so quickly, and depending on the terrain they can often hide in some really irritating places. Below the level of the floor is always a prime example. And when they double, or we'll see in a later screen, triple team you, ugh! A couple of platform rotating spike balls, which are not too bad to get by, just be patient and wait for a decent opportunity. Now because the lower one has further travel when circling its platform, the two spike balls are perfectly in sync and there will be times when you shouldn't make a move. And I think I dilly-dally here a little bit longer than I needed to, unless I had this commentary in mind when I was recording the footage. And believe me, I didn't. Robot Chicken, no that's not a plug for the TV show, are roaming around in the sky. They spit out little legs which walk along the floor, and you want to periodically stop shooting the chicken to take them out. There's an extra life on offer there, although be warned, getting it will almost certainly scroll the chicken back on screen when you slide out again, so be careful. You can see the spinning platforms also from Stone Stage are back, and as long as you ride them up to the point where they stop moving and then quickly jump off before they plummet off screen, you should be absolutely fine. Now here's the Pukapulli triple team screen I mentioned a moment ago. Absolute pain in the neck, believe me, although on this occasion I managed to take them all out. This spike ball without anything else on the screen to worry about might as well not even be there toward the end. Now here I'd advise taking the upper path as it's the easiest to get through unscathed, no question. And as for the Power Muscler, you could try to take it out, but you'll need to shoot pretty quickly. Since I'm not confident in my ability to do that, I much prefer sliding under it. Now these plunging enemies don't even aim for you. Stand still and they'll stop slightly to the right of you and plunge down. So how are they even a threat? Well, on solid ground they're not, but on crumbling ground they are because you can't stand still in one place for too long. So this becomes a jumping puzzle whereby you have to wait and bait the spike plungers. Of course, to grab that letter A, you'll need to let the crumbling platform, well, crumble, but leave yourself enough time to jump up to safety. But again, the timing on that's not too bad. Ah, an elevator ride that has some point to being here. This time you have spikes to avoid, and you do need to be quite careful not to jump too high so that you smack your head on one. Or alternatively, if you want to try sliding your way through instead, make sure you're quick off the mark. There is no time to wait if you want to slide through, and personally I'd go with the jumping option. I guess one thing I've not talked too much about so far is the fact that we're up in the sky. The entire level is basically one big pit just waiting for you to fall into it. Although we've travelled upwards on several occasions, falling back down will not send you to an early point in the level or anything, just to your death. Of course, right at the end of the stage, we do need to actually drop down, but this time it isn't a pit. And for the second to last enemy in the stage, this thing is annoyingly positioned. Take your time, get a feel for the time when it shoots at you, and make your move in between it and the wall at an opportune moment. And for goodness sake, don't get caught out by the cannon right in front of the boss gate. That's the kind of thing that would really piss off a perfect runner. I'm afraid Gyro Man's no tougher than any of the three Robot Masters that we've already seen. Cloud cover is a slight concern, as when he flies off screen you won't be able to see him. After a short time he'll fling down what looks rather like a frisbee and fly it horizontally at you. As long as you're standing still when the frisbee thing drops down, it won't ever drop down directly on you. So wait until it flies at you and jump over it. Keep moving though once you've jumped it. Gyro Man will now descend back onto the screen and it seems to be in the position you landed back on the ground when you jumped the frisbee. So if you keep moving, you'll put a lot of distance between him and you. You want distance because his other move is to fling a frisbee at you from the ground. If you're standing too close to him, you have little time to be able to react to it. So get well away from him, and if he does fling one at you, jump over it, making sure you keep moving a bit further to the left or the right as the frisbee will stop and rise up. If you just jump without moving sideways, you'll land on the thing, and you don't want that. Those are his only two attacks, and neither is in any way tricky to avoid when you know what you're doing. I get Gyro Attack and Rush Jet. Gyro Attack is a kind of useful frisbee weapon that can home in on enemies, although only moving horizontally or vertically. Rush Jet works the same way as it did in Mega Man 4, and I'll talk more about him when we get to see him in action in the Fortress stages. Yet another accidental perfect run, in case you missed it. 2 in this game now, and the 6th overall following my Triumphs and Guts, Heat, Top, Skull and Gravity stages. So again, not strictly necessary, but here's one I did earlier. Thanks for sticking around for the perfect run. Unfortunately this time I really don't have much to say. I managed to flesh out some of the previous videos by talking about game mechanics and ludicrous one-up drops, but not so much this time. The first screen wasn't really any trouble, the Pukapellis being the more threatening enemy type, but in this screen at least they're not too awkward to deal with, despite the fun it looks like I had with this very first one. Oh look, it's my lucky charm once again. And for this bit, if you're careful, you can scroll only one of these Pukapelli on screen and not have to deal with both, if you're so inclined, or really do have a hard time hitting them, which by the way, I completely understand. No issues with this screen, take your time, wait for a decent opening, you'll be fine. Okay, not quite Stone Man all over again, but what is it with one-up drops in Mega Man 5? They're everywhere! Okay, so finally a trouble spot. Twice actually. I've got on record how much I hate the Pukapelli, and never so much as on this screen. 3 of them gunning for you, and what with them being deceptively hard to hit, if you don't take them out quickly, you're going to be in trouble. I can't offer any definitive way to deal with them, how they react depends on what you do or where you position yourself. Taking out the bottom one from the ladder seems like a sensible idea though, as once you reach the top of the ladder, it'll have become that much harder to hit. But each to their own, to be honest. Now the screens with the power muscler and the crumbling blocks didn't pose any problems. Sliding under the giant enemy seems to work very well, and as for the blocks over the giant chasm, take it slow, and as a natural consequence you'll probably avoid the spike plungers just fine. So the spike elevator didn't trip me up either, but the screen immediately after it did, and again twice, although different enemies hit me. I got flustered having entered the screen and screwed up by getting hit to a pellet shot. It can catch you unawares because 4 come flying towards you, and it's easy to panic and make a bonehead move like jumping straight into one. Just stay cool and react to them when they reach you. But the last mess up was on the last enemy of this screen, and the second to last of the stage. I missed time dropping down and was mightily annoyed about having done so, believe me. Just wait as long as you need to for the timing to work out and don't get greedy. As you can see here, wasn't 100% sure how this cannon was going to react, and it being the first time I reached it on a perfect run, I was a little nervous. Knowing the Robot Master is pretty simple, I did not want to mess up again, so close to the end. So it's probably not much of a surprise to learn I didn't suffer any outtakes on Gyro Man. And as I described his entire pattern and how you should avoid all his attacks during the Let's Play version, I have nothing else to add. So sit back and enjoy the rest of the fight. So, I've reached the halfway point of Mega Man 5's Robot Master stages, and frankly barely broken into a sweat. I did say these stages, or at least the Robot Masters, are quite easy, so you really shouldn't be expecting much in the way of difficulty. It only took 15 minutes to get the successful perfect run on Gyro Man, and all by only suffering 4 outtakes, none of which on the Robot Master. Obviously the stage takes place in the sky, with bottomless pits all over the place, but I don't think there are any tricky jumps to pull off, or indeed any enemies that are likely to knock you into those pits, save for perhaps the spike plunger enemies on the crumbling block segment. But once you know the strategy for dealing with those, you shouldn't experience any trouble. The Pukapelli are the most annoying thing about the stage, and I won't lie, do catch me out reasonably frequently. But only on 2 occasions during this stage, and not any more. The other 2 outtakes for me being very clumsy rather than anything being difficult. The spike elevator is probably the only other stage obstacle worth mentioning, and you may find that a little tricky the first time you come across it. But I've played Mega Man 5 enough times and it doesn't bother me any way or shape or form. As for Gyro Man, there's a simple strategy for dodging each of his 2 attacks, and he's nothing to worry about in the slightest. The fight can drag out a bit if he keeps hiding up in the clouds, but fatigue or lack of concentration aside, you shouldn't have too many problems with him. Unsurprisingly, that good mood I'd been in since loading the game to tackle Gravity Stage for the first time was still hanging around. Exactly the same stats as Gravity leads to the exact same story rating, and thus Gyro becomes the 7th member of the 1 out of 10 club. He has a pretty easy stage and a very easy boss fight, and what with getting rushed here as a prize for beating him, he is a good first Robot Master to go after, in my honest opinion. So, will Robot Master number 5 pose any more of a threat to me? Or will I have him in the palm of my hand too? Tune in next time to find out. Cheerio.